Hello, I am back again. Um, Sorry I sound funny again. We had a little episode with Febreze spray here. The wee child thought this would be a great way to clean the bathroom, and I am experiencing the side effects of that. So I guess Febreze spray is not for me. So, subject that has come up recently that I have been inspired to speak on is the idea of forgiveness. Okay. Some of the latest readings from A Course in Miracles that I've been looking at to lesson 215. The Holy Spirit is my only guide. He walks with me in love, and I give thanks to him for showing me the way to go. 216, all that I do unto myself. If I attack, I suffer, but if I forgive, salvation will be given me. And the 215 was a review of 195, which was Love is the Way I Walk in Gratitude. 216 was a review of 196, and it can be but myself I crucify. 217, review of 197, it can be but my gratitude I earn. Who should give thanks for my salvation but myself? And how? But through salvation can I find the self to whom my thanks are due. 218, and again, these are still in the I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me succession. Lesson 218, review of 198, only my condemnation injures me. My condemnation keeps my vision dark, and through my sightless eyes, I cannot see the vision of my glory. Yet today I can behold this glory and be glad. Okay. So I want to sit with this for just a minute. I'm going to pause just 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay. So a couple of different things here. The Holy Spirit is my only guide. Okay. So as in the other videos I've done, I have spoken on this many times that one, which is the Christ itself, which is present in each of us. This is reaffirming that we want to listen to the guide of truth and love. That is the only message we want, wish to, are willing to hear, accept, and follow. Okay. Because no matter what the different faiths say, there is, that's hard. My human mind wants to say that there is a harder path and an easier path. Okay. So if we look at the Bible, we have our 10 commandments in the Bible. An outline of really good concepts. And what these are is an outline of concepts that say, it's in your best interest to not do these things. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill thy brother. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. These kinds of things. First and foremost, thou shalt have no other God before me. Okay, it's not possible. But the part of us that believes that it is possible to have another God before God or ahead of God, that would be the world or the ego, that which lives in the world and is of the world. Okay, it doesn't even have to be a golden cow. It can be the idols, that whatever idols you have. It could be addiction. It could be substances. It could be people in your life. It could be the world itself. It could be something as simple as it is easier for me to follow the whims and ideals of the world and ignore the Christ itself within me that steers me away from those things. could be that simple. And there is an idol that we, should we hearken to that voice, place above and before God. Because God is the Christ itself within us, the Christ itself that steers us in the direction that is of our highest and best good. Okay. It can be but myself I crucify. And so when I see attack in the world on a personal level, I am accepting that kind of world for myself. All right. So I could use an example. And the example I will use here is this. I did a post on Facebook. I heard a story about a 76-year-old California man who was vaccinated early this year for the virus, and he recently passed away because of the virus. So even though he got vaccinated, supposedly he contracted the virus and died. That in and of itself was not my interest. My interest was the statement by his daughter, and his daughter said it could have been so much worse if he hadn't gotten the vaccination. And I'm sorry, without overthinking that, and that's something that some of us tend to do without overthinking that, that's hilarious. It could have been so much worse. It's true, if, but my understanding is the man was hospitalized before he died. So obviously he was having some kind of complications. How severe, I don't know. But if he was hospitalized and died, supposedly of this thing, he was having some kind of distress. I'm going to pause right now because the air conditioner is running. Okay, so the air conditioner is still running, and I've grown severely impatient, so I'm just going to continue. So I put this thing on Facebook, and I ended it with WTF ? As frustrated as that story felt to me, I felt frustrated about that story. My frustration took on a new level when I got a comment from someone who I would have considered to be in my circle at one point, okay? The division over this incident, this CV incident, is it's really discouraging. But I got this comment back from someone who I would have considered in my circle, explaining what that means. Okay, so in the sense of, well, it's so much better to pass quietly than to suffer and cause a lot of debt and et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, well, that's perfect, right? Yeah, the greed machine actively at work. What angers me about this, and this is not my Christed self speaking, okay, because this is my ego speaking, my ego that has the ability to be angry. And my ego says, oh my gosh, let's just sell a new level of stupid. Is this going to be the new marketing technique? Get this injection so that you can pass peacefully in your sleep and not know what's going on. Well, many of us, if we had a choice how we're going to leave this body peacefully and in our sleep would be the way to go. It certainly would be for me. But if that's the newest marketing technique, I'm still not doing it. Thanks very much. But what I gleaned from the comment that So when my friend posted this comment about my story that this story that I had heard and shared, I start typing my reply, and the first thing I type is, yeah, no. I was like, that's gonna be misunderstood. So I, backspace that, and the next thing I type is, really? Question mark. Backspace. The next thing I type is, I just don't even know what to say. Backspace all that. And I realized that there is nothing I can say to someone who is able to view this way and justify it in this manner. But what I realized very quickly is this must be propaganda in the news media, because I'm not watching the news. It must be propaganda in the media. This must be the story that they're feeding people. They must be feeding the story that if you've gotten this vaccination, that your death is going to be less painful than if you didn't. Okay, right. So there's where my anger comes in. My anger comes in because just something feels so very off about that I just, hey, I don't know. So, but I understand that there's nothing I can say to this person. They are already so far into this mindset that nothing I say is going to make any difference. So my response publicly posted was, thank you so much for your perspective. We obviously see the world very differently. And that's all I can say. There's really nothing else. I see that this is a ridiculous response. Yeah. So-and-so, yeah. Got the vaccination, but still died. But hey, it could have been so much worse. Yeah. Or not. It's just ludicrous to me. Okay. So, back to the lesson. Now, and I had something else come up. I just recently had taken a trip to Indiana to spend time with my family that I really have never known. My mom and dad split 40 years ago, and had no substantial contact with my dad since that time. The opportunity has since presented itself, and I went to Indiana to spend time with my dad and my sister that I never knew. I knew of her, but resentment had kept me from having any type of contact with her. I was not ready. I wasn't ready to put aside my own hurt. I was still clinging to that hurt. And the emotion that you can hear probably in my voice is, I suppose it's a sadness and a regret that I did not come around sooner, but that is as it is. So everything happens as it needs to happen. So came back from that trip after having absolutely fallen in love with my sister. Love her. We are so similar. It's very possible that she may be exactly what I've been looking for my whole life, and just never really was able to have that level of connection with anyone else. I am very grateful that I was able to finally reach a place where I could give up that which no longer served me. So I'm going to use My condemnation keeps my vision dark, and through my sightless eyes I cannot see the vision of my glory. Yet today I can behold this glory and be glad. I want to speak to that for a moment. I came back from this trip and stopped to see my other sister who I grew up with. I am the oldest of, now I will say 5 children, including my sister, my new sister, but not new. So I'm the oldest. The second child, the child born right after me, a year and 10 months after me, also a sister. We have never been very close. We have been in opposition to each other most of our lives. Who knows why? Differences of mind processes, differences of physicality, just differences. You know, she had a crush on my first boyfriend kind of thing, and that just kind of precipitated into adulthood, maybe. I don't know. But I stopped at her house and was showing her pictures of our sister, our sister's husband, our sister's child, who is my nephew, who happens to be a year older than my son. And her reaction was one of, so the hurt that was obvious to me in her came out as severe resentment and anger. But it's all coming from a place of hurt. I was not able to stay there very long. I had to leave because, I'm energy sensitive. So I had to excuse myself. But when I speak today about forgiveness, I have lived enough to know that 2 people, husband and wife, do not break up because a third person comes into the world. Okay? I understand that things happen the way they happen, and that we don't know what anything is for. And it's back on. So things cause us hurt that we allow to cause us hurt. We allow them because we need to blame, we need to hate, we need to justify those feelings. Real forgiveness comes when we understand there is nothing to forgive. Things happen as they need to happen. Once we know that, we accept that it may not make sense to us while we're still in these bodies. It may not, but the plan was laid out and it came to pass. And all we can do is to accept and be grateful for the progress, the growth that we've gotten from it. There is no one to blame. I have walked away from several relationships recently, family relationships, romantic relationships. I've walked away from them because it just wasn't it. It wasn't it. When I let go of the you should, and listen to what's harmonious with my energetic nature, and allow myself to not feel guilty for those things, because if we're not in harmony energetically, There's no point to forcing a commingling. It's just not, there's no point. Why? I don't have to pay. I don't have to martyr myself. I don't have to crucify myself. So when we attack someone else, when we perceive that someone else is guilty against us, we are making ourselves guilty. I don't know how to explain this any better than to say things just are. Not my fault, not your fault, not Joe Schmo down the street's fault. They just are. I can see mechanisms at work in our world, this world of form, of mind manipulation and mind control, and I can see it on both sides. I can see it coming from many directions. I have to often hearken back to the things that I saw that caused me to feel a certain way. Okay. The inconsistencies, just things that didn't make sense. Pretty words, that's all they were, was pretty words. And I guess the only reason for this video is to say that the idea of forgiveness has come up a lot recently. But the truth behind forgiveness is there is nothing to forgive. It's gone. By saying that forgiveness needs to take place, by saying that we are still making someone guilty, we must forgive. Well, then we are guilty. If we accept that a situation, a circumstance just happened as it needed to happen, we then are in a place of acceptance with, what do I want to do with that? No one is to blame. There is no blame. These are stories. They are just stories. They can be frustrating, yes. As I was frustrated hearing that story, I was frustrated. Got my dander up, but what got my dander up more was that someone that I know, close to me somewhat, is drinking the Kool-Aid. That's what I say. They're drinking the Kool-Aid. And anyone watching this who wants to call me a redneck, uneducated, whatever, have at it. Have at it. I see what I see. I see what I see. For those who, I had someone laugh at me one time because I said I had supported Trump up until Trump started endorsing vaccines. Because as long as what he was doing was benefiting the people, I was okay with what he was doing. And I was happy for what he was accomplishing. But then, when he began endorsing the vaccines, I had to really question that. because I felt a certain way about vaccines. This in particular. Now one could say that my ego conscious, my human ego mind is being manipulated from the other side, and that could be true also. I can't say that it's not. What I can say is, what is loving is I have a choice and you have a choice. What is loving is that I not be made the one to blame because someone else is still told they have to wear a mask. Or, you know, I have many clients that I am in close physical proximity to that have had the vaccination. And I say, you know, if it is up to you if you want to wear a mask or not. I have not been vaccinated. It is up to you if you want to wear a mask or not. But I am very happy with you being able to breathe the air. So you do not have to mask for me. I invite you, I welcome you to breathe the air. That is loving to me. That is loving to me. And though I feel the way I do about this whole situation, I would never want to take someone else's choice away from them. If they are that fearful and feel that this is going to help them, I'm all for it. I'm all for them doing what they feel they need to do. And obviously there was a need or a demand for it, because here we are. So to some, there was a demand for it. To some, they were very encouraged into fear by the mechanisms at work here. And so that fear became quite real. This has really taken a political tangent, and so I should come back to this and say that it doesn't matter if you support a presidential candidate, whichever one you support. They have all been faces of the same entity at work. I often said many times before I started this channel, before I began speaking out about these things, that democracy was a concept that made us think we had a choice. All democracy is good for is making us think we have a choice. But the government always gets in. And that was what I said prior to anything else. And I'm hoping that tomorrow will be different. You know, I hear talk. I follow channels. I follow what's going on United Network News. I follow information about Kimberly Ann Gogan. And I really hope that it's authentic. I really hope it is. I can't say for sure. I'm not in the thick of it far enough. But what I can say is that there are so many stories at play right now. You know, anything is possible. And I will say that whoever's driving Biden was the same one driving Trump. Like it or not. The faces change, the agendas don't. And so I keep that in the back of my mind with every person that comes up with here's how we make this world a better place. That the powers that have been working on this planet, they're not going quietly. Hoping above all that they are going. So I hope this message finds you well. I hope that you can take something positive and informative away from this. I hope that you can contemplate the idea of forgiveness and understanding that there is nothing to forgive. There is nothing. Christ taught us that we must stop lamenting the past. We must stop lamenting the grave. We must stop bringing those things into today. Because when we do, we contaminate today. We contaminate this moment. And this moment is perfect and beautiful and love until we bring contaminants into it, whether it be from our own egoic minds or from some story playing out in the world of form. And peace and love, may you be blessed.